This planet is still going to blow. The core has been completely disintegrated. 5 minutes. That's how long you have.
And thus began the biggest lie in TV history. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where 10 episodes, 3 hours, and thousands of power levels later, Namek finally exploded.
In the arms of the angel.
So, let me come out and say it. Dragon Ball rocks! The characters, the villains, but especially the powers. I mean, what self-respecting kid hasn't pretended to harness their ki and shoot out giant energy balls? Or fly around punching faster than the speed of light? Or stood there screaming for hours working to power up? Hey, here's a joke for you. How many Saiyans does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1, but it'll take 3 episodes to do it. Ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na. Now, if there's one attack that everyone associates with the series, it's Goku's famous Kamehameha wave, or Turtle Devastation wave, named after the Hawaiian king Kamehameha. The move is used by everyone from Master Roshi to Boo, and as such comes with a bunch of variations, but more often than not it consists of the character gathering ki energy between their hands to form an energy ball that then gets blasted out in a beam towards your big bad with questionable gender. Hashtag love wins. And I have to say, since starting Game Theory 4 years ago, I have received so many emails, tweets, Facebook messages from you loyal theorists asking me to look into the physics of this attack to figure out how you can start blasting your best friend into your neighbor's backyard. And it was tough. I mean, really tough, actually, as what I found forced me to question some of my basic assumptions about how the universe works. And that's no joke, as there were a lot of revelations during the research for this one, but I think we've developed a pretty good theory about what's going on during these moves. So, let's start with what we're given by the show. In the series, all these attacks are based on ki energy, life force energy that exists inside every living being, with the major focus being in the center of the body. By drawing it out, the user is able to manipulate it and use it outside the body. From forming protective ki barriers to creating ki balls and ki blasts to vaporize an opponent, until inevitably one cell of him manages to survive and he's able to completely regenerate even stronger than before. Here, have a sensu bean while you're at it, cause that makes a lot of sense. Super Saiyan? More like stupid Saiyan. Stupid sensu beans. Oh, all the world's existence hangs in the balance. Meh, I want a fair fight. Anyway, I would think that it'll come as no surprise to anyone to hear that Dragon Ball's ki is a direct reference to the real-life idea of ki, or chi, one of the foundational principles in Chinese medicines and martial arts. The word literally translates as breath, air, or gas, and is thought to be a life force or energy that exists in everything, just like it is in the show. In Hindu, there's also the concept of chakras, centers of spiritual power throughout the body. So, chi in real life is a hard-to-define mental or spiritual energy that, when mastered, can heal the wounded, strengthen a fighter, even go so far as to give them Darth Vader Force-like powers, similar to what we're seeing in the show. At least, that's what some people believe. But there's one big problem here. There's no good sources backing any of this up, whether you believe in chi energy or not. Most of the quote-unquote science conducted supporting chi was done by people with a firm belief in holistic medicine, so definitely not the most impartial of judges. And neutral researchers, well, they're just not interested in testing videos of people rolling around like idiots. Or should I say, more importantly, the people with grant dollars aren't interested in funding that sort of research, which means no scientists care. So that's a bummer, but of course we're not going to leave it at that. I am not going to let the scientific community's inability to test this stuff prevent me from shooting energy beams of light out of my hands. I mean, if Krillin can do it, so can I, damn it. And as an aside here, can I just say how depressing it is to think that Krillin is one of the strongest human beings alive on that show? Ugh, that's a sobering thought. Anyway, we're gonna step in where science has failed and answer the true question these top research institutions should be looking at. How does a fictional character shoot a fictional wave of energy out of his hands? Well, to truly understand what's going on, we have to look at the wave's properties. And the first thing to note is that this isn't just an energy wave. You can't see energy. Energy is a property of a physical thing. Something physical has to possess that energy. If you need proof from the show, look at Gohan's Kamehameha wave pushing against cells near the end of that story arc. See how his ball of energy causes cells to collapse in on itself in response? It's like if I pushed on a piece of cellophane or Reynolds wrap. Clearly there's a lot of energy there, but it's being carried in a physical form. It is literally a form of matter. What's a matter? I don't know. What's a matter with you? Ha ha! Ooh, bad Marx jokes aside, matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. I'm sure we've all learned the 3 states of matter, right? Solids, liquids, gases. Problem is, the Kamehameha wave doesn't behave like any of those. So, what is it? Well, I hate to break it to you, but your 3rd grade science teacher has been a part of a lifelong conspiracy. A cover-up misleading generations of young students. There aren't just 3 states of matter. There's actually a 4th, plasma. And it's this 4th state of matter that unlocks all the secrets to Dragon Ball's energy blasts. In fact, let me tell you how big this lie you've been told actually is. Solids, liquids, and gases make up 1% of the universe. 1 measly percent. Matter in a state of plasma makes up the other 99% of the observable universe, which makes humans quite literally part of the 1%. So stop occupying Wall Street, you hippies. So why have elementary school science teachers hidden this fact from generations of kids? Well, 3rd grade is pretty early to be learning physical chemistry, plus plasma isn't something that we run into all that often on Earth. You're probably most familiar with it thanks to fluorescent light bulbs. What's lighting up in there? Plasma. Lightning? Also plasma. Stars, like our sun? We've all been led to believe that they're big balls of gas, even by NASA in an incredibly poorly written definition on their website. Well, that's wrong. They're mostly plasma because of how hot they are. And by the way, NASA, change that, please. You can't say it's mostly a ball of gas, but then say it's mostly plasma. They are 2 different states of matter. It'd be like me saying this turkey sandwich is a ham sandwich just because it has another meat in it. They're close, but they're not the same. Can you tell that I skipped lunch to write this episode? So before we see how plasma plays a part in Dragon Ball, we need to know what exactly it is. You know how when you heat up a solid, it melts and becomes a liquid, and you heat it up a bit more and it becomes a gas? Well, if you heat the gas even more, it becomes plasma. Basically, the electrons in the atoms of the gas get so excited they start to break away. So what you end up with is this soup of negatively charged electrons floating alongside positively charged ions from the atoms that have lost their electrons. Long story short, the main thing to remember is a plasma is a superheated gas. So when Goku makes a ball of energy appear out of nothing, that's not 100% true. There's gas, air between his hands that he's superheating to create that ball. So the next logical question there is, how is he heating it up? And the answer is surprisingly simple, just like a fluorescent bulb. When you turn on a light, electricity is sent through the gas in the tube, supercharging the atoms so that the electrons start popping off, creating the glowing plasma to illuminate the room. The characters in Dragon Ball are doing the same thing. Their key power is really them harnessing their body's electric potential and focusing it on areas around them. Skeptical? I hear what you're saying, but consider this. In the battle against Vegeta, Goku calls upon his triple Kaioken attack, and what do we see happen? Electricity starts radiating around his body. His electric potential has skyrocketed, and as Super Saiyans ascend to higher and higher levels, we see lightning pulsing around their bodies. Lightning, aka plasma. But that's not all. You know how any of these warriors need a huge burst of energy to ascend to the next level or start their energy attack? But then, once they're there, they're able to sustain that power level? Well, plasma and electric potentials explain that too. To convert any gas to plasma, including air, there's a big startup energy, typically around 33 kilovolts per centimeter. But once the plasma arc's been created, it can be sustained with only a tenth of that energy. 3 kilovolts per centimeter. By that same principle, the arc needs to be started next to its energy source, but once there, it can be drawn out to 10 times the distance from said source, which in the case of the Kamehameha wave is why the wave starts near Goku and then can A, reach out so far away from him, and B, is so much stronger when launched near the opponent. Like when Goku chose to fire it point blank at Cell as his last-ditch attempt to finish the fight. Speaking of villains, during the second coming of Broly, we see that Kamehamehas can combine to become even stronger, as Gohan, Goten, and Goku join forces for the so-called family Kamehameha. It would be a touching moment if I weren't so distracted by the fact that Goku is literally a spirit in this instance. If you'll pardon my little rant here, but I mean, okay, the guy dies and is wished back into existence every 10 episodes. Fine, I accept that. But for his attack to be viable when he's still technically a ghost? Ugh. Anyway, the important point here is that the separate beams can combine and grow stronger. Plasma exhibits this same quality. Look at your typical plasma ball. No, that's not just an outdated desk ornament, it's a lesson on Dragon Ball Z physics. Notice that as the beams of plasma have a point to focus on, they combine and grow stronger, bigger, and more powerful, just like we see on the show. And don't worry, I hear your question. If plasma's just a superheated gas, how can it obliterate Cell or push people away? P.S. Goku should have won Death Battle. Hashtag butthurt. Well, listen up, salty Superman hater, because that's probably the single biggest clue that these beams are plasma instead of just pure energy. You see, the wild thing about plasma is that they're nothing like a gas. That's why they qualify as an entirely separate state of matter. Remember that this is the stuff that stars are made of, so Goku is basically creating a small star in between his hands. And at high temperatures, plasma becomes thicker, more viscous, to the level that it can physically be pushed. That's why everyone from Frieza to Buu can try to stop these things with their hands. It's also how, in that earlier example, Gohan's wave is able to push cells back into the sky. It's a denser plasma beam able to overcome the momentum of his attack. It's also how Goku is able to form a ki shield. It's the same plasma shield technology that the company Boeing has just patented. I kid you not, plasma shields are becoming a real thing. Truly, we live in the future. And you know how characters are always getting into energy clashes with the two beams struggling for superiority? Whether it's Gohan versus Cell or Goku versus Vegeta, beams colliding is a staple of the show, with that rounded ball shape being iconic of these sorts of standoffs. Would one plasma beam be able to push against another? Well, yes. In real life, it's difficult to find examples that are nearly that spectacular or focused, but putting two plasma balls together and watching their beams strike each other, you see them pushing against one another, forcing into each other up and out until the connection is broken or they're too far away from their primary energy source. And then, what about that ball shape? Well, we can compare the beam collision to that of stars in outer space. Looking at their collision patterns, when two big balls of plasma combine at moderate to high speeds, they splash outward, like we see in the Goku-Vegeta battle. But they also fuse together, fusion into a swirling mass of energy. Their magnetic fields reorganize into a ball shape before, well, in space, they create a black hole. In Dragon Ball, it doesn't go that far. Oh sure, the planet will most likely come to a horrific conclusion, but you know, at least we won't be crushed under the infinite blackness of gravity. So, there you have it. Ki and wave attacks are most likely electric potentials and plasma. It's interesting. In the end, spiritual energies like Dragon Ball's Ki or real-life Chi are models created to explain weird trends or natural phenomena in the world around us. In that, they're not that far different from a scientific theory. Theories, by their nature, are incomplete, and you know what? Probably wrong in some ways, sometimes in a lot of ways. But what they provide is a useful explanation for what we see, until we inevitably learn more and revise our theories to accommodate that new information. In this case, plasma and electric potentials work fairly well for a phenomenon we see throughout the series evolve, change, defy its own logic. Sorry, just theorizing about theorizing. I guess I should end on a joke now. Oh, I know. Dragon Ball GT. Ba-doom-ching. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. If I could summon Shenron right now, I'd wish that you'd subscribe. So make my wish come true, spirit bomb that button. Or maybe I can make your wish for another Dragon Ball video come true. Click right here to check out my 1-minute lore episode covering the backstory of the franchise. Who cares if you know it already? The animations are awesome, and I'm there too, which should count for something. And with Dragon Ball Super going on, might as well refresh yourself with good old MatPat. And Yamcha. Actually, Yamcha's not there. Finally, for you people who refuse to click on anything, do you like Five Nights at Freddy's? If so, there's a brand new theory today. Click the purple fan to find out the huge mistake Scott made in FNAF 4. Seriously, Scott, you screwed the pooch on this one. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got something a bit more joyful to do some research on. Hours and thousands of power levels later, Namek finally exploded.
In the arms of the angel.
So, let me come out and say it. Dragon Ball rocks. The characters, the villains, but especially the powers. I mean, what self-respecting kid hasn't pretended to harness their ki and shoot out giant energy balls? Or fly around punching faster than the speed of light? Or stood there screaming for hours working to power up? Hey, here's a joke for you. How many Saiyans does it take to screw in a light bulb? One, but during these moves. So let's start with what we're given by the show. In the series, all these attacks are based on ki energy, life force energy that exists inside every living being, with the major focus being in the center of the body. By drawing it out, the user is able to manipulate it and use it outside the body, from forming protective ki barriers to creating ki balls and ki blasts to vaporize an opponent, until inevitably one cell of him manages to survive and he's able to completely regenerate even stronger than before. Here, have a sensu bean while you're at it, cause that makes a lot of sense. Soup gender. Hashtag love wins. And I have to say, since starting Game Theory 4 years ago, I have received so many emails, tweets, Facebook messages from you loyal theorists asking me to look into the physics of this attack to figure out how you can start blasting your best friend into your neighbor's backyard. And it was tough. I mean, really tough, actually, as what I found forced me to question some of my basic assumptions about how the universe works. And that's no joke, as there were a lot of revelations during the research for this one. But I think we've developed a pretty good theory about what's going on. It'll take 3 episodes to do it. Ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na. Now, if there's one attack that everyone associates with the series, it's Goku's famous Kamehameha wave, or Turtle Devastation wave, named after the Hawaiian king Kamehameha. The move is used by everyone from Master Roshi to Boo, and as such comes with a bunch of variations, but more often than not it consists of the character gathering ki energy between their hands to form an energy ball that then gets blasted out in a beam towards your big bad with questionable.
This planet is still going to blow. The core has been completely disintegrated. 5 minutes. That's how long you have.
And thus began the biggest lie in TV history. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where 10 episodes, 3 hours.